and we have combined them into the corporation, trying to bring in uniformity in terms of the land, in terms of other services required. Otherwise, as you know, local administration, the village has a different systems of administration. The tax collection or the running of functioning of the Gram Panchayats is different. Coming down to the next level, the small municipalities functions on a different level and the corporation functions on a different level to bring in a parity and uniformity. So we have assimilated Gram Panchayats, many Gram Panchayats, small municipalities into corporation, and we will now try to put into picture this greater Hyderabad municipal corporations will be divided into 3 or 4 zones where the uniformity will be spread. We really respect whatever you have said, that the local self-government's involvement will be there all the time, so that we bring the delivery systems into action in a very smart and very faster way. So definitely I would agree for that. And in fact, I have to thank Mr. Sandeep ji for, looking at this beautiful arena and what is the vision of our government. He himself thought of becoming a brand ambassador for this, and thanks for that. And, Sudhir ji has told about how do you design it, how do you see the convergence between different industries coming into one aspect, the convergence, how it takes in terms of multi-sectoral disciplines which are coming over here. Definitely we are just thinking, I've told, everything is related to few of the core sectors like skilling, like approvals, like design approvals, and how do we link AICT to different verticals of the industries over here? How do I link the skills to here? How do I link the coming up data centers, which almost all the industries require? Now everything is moved on AI, or cutting edge technologies will require data centers. So all this convergence takes at one place. So this we are duly considering it at the highest level, and we are trying to see that how best we can really converge these multi-sectoral districts, which shall give a comprehensive output for their own this thing. And Shekhar Reddy always keeps on asking out-of-box incentives. We will provide the professional, no out-of-box, sir. We will do more out-of-box incentives for all the things, and we shall strive to see that this city grows. As you know, my MD is sitting here. Lots of credence has to go to Mr. MD and the team for, anywhere when a political leader thinks about doing this concept. And it's the political thought, what we thought of doing it. When we have put this, the implementation is done by our bureaucracy. And execution is done at a faster level. In 3 weeks' time, a smaller version of the city has been built. So already our work is on this Future City Development Corporation. Earlier to this, we had Skills University, which is almost on the verge of finishing. And we have Amazon data center, which we are extending it to 400 acres now. That becomes the data centers park. And we are coming up with other, Hyderabad Cricket Association ground over here, which shall be the biggest ever cricket ground over here. In few months from now, we'll be doing the groundbreaking. So process is on. How well you take it is our, destiny, and how JLL takes or other big consultants who are here, we would wish to take them at the same length and same favor and move from here. Thank you, Mr. Shah.
So, to Vishal, to a question of what is the role of private sector, I can say the government is an enabler, government is a facilitator. The main role is the private sector. I'll give you a beautiful example. What was the fate of sports as an industry, sports as a career, say, before IPL, right? So, the IPL, while it comes under the purview of government India, BCCI is an autonomous in India. Now, IPL has completely changed the way sports is seen, perceived as a career. And because of IPL, whether it is volleyball league, the baseball league, or the kabaddi league. By the way, kabaddi is the second largest league in India after cricket. The millions of people. What I'm trying to say is that this is the all because of private participation, all because of private efforts. And if you want to succeed for this Bharat Future City, government is an enabler, is a facilitator. It has to be different private companies who are going to come and spend their money and get it successful. Absolutely, it's private companies who are going to do it.
Yeah, I think this type of a this type of a large development is impossible without having private investment. This plays very significant role, and primarily, I mean, apart from infrastructure investment, private sector can bring in a lot of digital governance in terms of technology, smart grid, or renewables, as well as climate change. So these are all, I think, very much ingredients private sector can bring in this case. Another two areas I can think of is skills and workforce development is another area which private sector can bring. And lastly, global best practices, because we want to see this city as one of the global hub. And I think just on a question on the government side, I think mostly focus on institutional and governance aspect where stable policy environment and clear sort of standardized type of contracts, clear dispute resolution mechanisms, and transparent procurement process. These are some of the elements where private sector finds comfort. So,
Yes,
yeah.
I agree to your point, Joshiji. Here what we mentioned about, we will be open to all the private players, to the sector specific, and as rightly said by Sandeep, we will just be the facilitator. The city has been conceptualized, mostly built by the private players, except in few areas where the government intervention is required, where the public education is required, where the public health is required, there the regulatory framework will be involved. Other than that, it shall be enabler as per you. And at the same time, the dispute resolution and procurement or the distribution or we will set certain standards which shall be level playing, which shall be more accountable, which shall be transparent. And these are areas where we are keen about because we are working in a democratic polity where we will be accountable and has to be transparent. This is the thing what we will take into consideration. And any other suggestions from your side? Because ultimately, this city which we are trying to put up should be a city devoid of any issues or the legal disputes or any sort of a trouble for our investor over here. That will take, due diligent care in while delivering the systems for them.
All right, I think we are running, we are anyways crossed, the time limit which we had, and there's a lot of other points to discuss. But just to, conclude before the vote of thanks that, cities don't get built overnight. We all know that. You saw, where, when the minister sir was initially mentioning about the aspiration of building something so large, that too, in a single phase, might sound a bit challenging, but, the government accepts that challenge. So that's number one point. Number two, the work that FCDA is doing, integrating Bharat Future City with the larger 800 square kilometer area. So, that's another sort of very aspirational, visionary, but, looking at things because from a very large scale planning perspective to a very focused area, which is the Bharat Future City. From an economic standpoint, I think this is very well known fact. Don't focus on a single sort of a sector. So diversification in economic sector is another big takeaway. But at the same time, diversification even in housing for all income levels, that's another big takeaway. And then all of these point towards, one simple thing, that at BFC, what's been is being achieved it to create something which makes people's lives better than the day-to-day challenges which we face in multiple cities around India. But BFC is trying to achieve something, which enhances quality of life, ease of doing business, but all of these actually is doing something better for the people. So, having said that, I think with that we'll conclude the session. Well, thank you so much for all your thoughts. I wish we had another hour because there's a lot more to discuss. This is not a subject that can be covered in 1 hour. It's a very fascinating area, but this is what we had the time. So I think, thank you so much for all your input.
On stage, Mr. Sudeep Kumar Sinha ji. Mr. C. Shekhar Reddy. Mr. C. Shekhar Reddy. Mr. Sanjay Joshi. Mr. Sandeep Patnaik. And the moderator for this session, Mr. Vishal Kundra. I request Minister Garu and our panelists to please step forward for a group picture, please. So that was indeed an insightful conversation about Bharat Future City, which stands just more than a project. It definitely represents the scale of Telangana's ambition and its confidence in shaping the next chapter of the India's growth history. On behalf of the organizing committee, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our panelists who are here to join us in this panel session. That was our third panel session of the day, day 2 of the Telangana Rising Global Summit 2025. Thank you once again, sir. Thank you one and all for joining us on stage. As we move on to the next session, a very interesting session, I'm sure, definitely for people from Telangana, because we have our directors, producers, actors, not only from Tollywood but also from Bollywood, to have a very insightful conversation about Cinema Rising 2047. As India moves towards 2047, the centenary of its independence, Indian cinema is entering into its most transformative era ever. Cinema Rising 2047 represents a future where creativity, technology, culture, global collaboration come together to shape a bold new identity for Indian storytelling. 2047 cinema will no longer be limited to screens. It's going to be much more than that. and to talk and to have a meaningful discussion. We have panel, I just can't tell them panel, we have heroes, we have heroines from Bollywood and Tollywood. మరి అందరూ నాలాగే ఎదురు చూస్తున్నారా? ఎంతమంది ఎదురు చూస్తున్నారు? ఒకసారి గట్టిగా వినొచ్చా? Are you all looking forward for this? ओके, तेलुगु समझ में नहीं आ रहा है किसी को? ओके, चलो। आज हमारे यहाँ पर इस पैनल डिस्कशन में शामिल होने वाले हैं हमारे बॉलीवुड के कुछ ऐसे कलाकार और टॉलीवुड के कुछ ऐसे कलाकार और प्रोड्यूसर्स, डायरेक्टर्स जिनको हमने देखा है, उनको आपने उनके मूवीज में एक्टिंग करते हुए देखा है, एज अ डायरेक्टर, एज अ प्रोड्यूसर भी देखा है, और आज वो हमारे सामने इस पैनल डिस्कशन में शामिल होने वाले हैं। आई एम लुकिंग फॉरवर्ड टू हैविंग अ ग्रेट इवनिंग। प्लीज सिट बैक, रिलैक्स, एंजॉय द कॉन्वर्सेशन एंड विल सी यू इन अ व्हाइल।
Actively invest either as angels or manage funds. Basically almost everyone. People who just took a big risk to quit their jobs and start a company, like in the last 2 or 3 years. We have a few people there. People who failed at building ventures either inside their startup or outside. I think most hands will go up. Come on, Prab, you must have failed at something. Okay. So it's a very interesting conversation, and we will focus on what I already spoke about. We are going to keep it free flowing. It's going to be quite straightforward. We will spend one round of questions just asking, what their background sort of portrays on the topic at hand. And then, we'll just go into a second round of questions on what we spoke about. That's the plan. I'll take a small step back before we begin. The startup economy in India is only about 15 to 17 years old. Flipkart was 2007 or 8, right? Swiggy right here is about 11 years. 2014, so it's about 11 years, they just did an IPO. So the industry is super new, and we are talking about the next 22 years. So there's still a lot to be done, and I think when we think of startups, we sometimes only think about consumer tech, and sometimes we only think, now more recently we only talk about deep tech. But when you think about innovation as a larger agenda on where can new, interesting, disruptive enterprises come from, there are actually 3 such places where they can come from. One is hustlers and builders like themselves who step up, leave their cushy jobs and try to do something risky. Most of them fail, some of them succeed. The second place is what happens inside of corporates, which we are not sort of covering today. Massive companies invent amazing products which go on to disrupt, scale and create basically new ventures. Many companies have systematic ways of doing that. The third place, which we often forget, given how nascent and new our industry and our startup economy is in Hyderabad, in Telangana, in the country, is research and innovation. So if you look at the West historically, a lot of the amazing products we use today, from smartphones to internet to cybersecurity products, they were all born in universities where professors were doing research, and then it got commercialized and ended up for civilian use, right? So we will end today's session within the 60 minutes with a very interesting company here, First Gen, who's here from the UK. They have built a very interesting platform which works like a plug-and-play system for non-commercialized research, which could be patented or not. So basically innovation that has not been commercialized, to take it to market, which could later be taken over by a founder, it could be purchased by an investor, it could even be completely 100% acquired by a enterprise. This is new to us as a country, and because we're talking about the future, I thought we should end with something that opens up our minds to something that is so new to us that will help us get to 2047. So I'll invite Philip and Clemens post the conversation ends here. That's it, that's all for my spiel. We'll jump in now, I'll take my seat. Okay, can you guys hear me? Okay, great. No. We have a few mics here, so we'll pass around. It's a big table. I'll start off with Nandan. Nandan's not often seen on panels, so he's doing a big favor by being here and helping us have a conversation. Nandan's from Hyderabad, but 14 years ago moved to Bangalore, to set up and launch a company called Bundle Technologies. If you haven't heard of it, that means you have never seen your Swiggy order invoice. If you see it, you'll see bundle on it. They started out to build an aggregated platform for courier packages. Of course, none of you have heard this. And then they found that the biggest reason when food deliveries happen, 10 years ago you used to call your restaurant to ask, where is my order? That was the biggest cause for calls, and you just couldn't track your orders. So they started 10, 11 years ago in Koramangala with a limited menu, with limited restaurants, and have grown into what has become today synonymous with food delivery. So I have one opening question for you, Nandan, which is, what does it feel like to go through that whole journey in a decade? Many founders aspire to do that. What did you learn along the way? Your heart is in Hyderabad, but your work is in Bangalore. So tell us a little bit about that too.
So, loaded question. Firstly, great to be here, by the way. Always good to be back in hometown. I was born and brought up in Hyderabad. And keep coming back, keep finding excuses to come back to Hyderabad as often as possible. So, I think in general, looking at the journey over a decade, largely it does feel a little surreal, and I think it's always basically also in a zone where it is also unfinished, because there is always more to do. There's always more to get done. So we pretty much come from a place of saying always be paranoid, always be basically pushing. So we take it one day at a time, 1 month, max 1 year at a time, and usually not someone to look back so often. But I think it's been a lot of lucky coincidences, some good decisions, some bad decisions, just all of them pretty much, let's say, add up over time. But yeah, that's largely, I think, maybe a way to describe it. Learnings, I think, I can maybe go in multiple different places, but largely I think the one thing that just maybe keeps us going is being able to kind of build consumer products that I love, and potentially be able to build things that we ourselves can use that consumers find value in, and being paranoid, right? Like, these are the two things that we are usually kind of looking at.
Being paranoid. Thank you, Nandan. And many of you may not know this. When you look at multiple co-founder companies, the companies where co-founders divide and rule is where the most interesting things start happening. Nandan runs, I don't know what to call it. Nandan runs everything new at Swiggy.
Yeah, new initiatives.
Everything new at Swiggy, like a lab. They started, how many of you remember Swiggy Minis? It's good they don't remember it. It didn't do as well as they wanted it to. It's still somewhere there hidden on the app. But Instamart, which has now become synonymous with ordering groceries in 10 minutes, was also started in this lab, and it's become as large as you can see today. Quick commerce was invented there. So that's Nandan's role there. Thank you, Nandan. So you've seen all the big ups and downs. I'll just shift to Prab next. Prab, you were in a cushy consulting job, decided to quit it, then come to Hyderabad for many reasons which we don't have to get into today. But you chose to build a healthcare operations company, which is now phenomenally supercharged with technology and AI in this city. And I know you made a very consultant-like, framework-based choice to do it with some heart in it. Tell us about that choice, and tell us, in your view, what should we do next as a city, as a community, to get to our path towards 3 trillion and 2047?
I grew up in Chandigarh, Kavi, so I carried a chip on my shoulder that I am from a well-planned city, and I moved to Hyderabad in 2014, and I was just taken aback by how Hyderabad offered an amazing mix of quality of life, along with a lot of things that, a natural choice like a Delhi. Like, being a Punjabi, a lot of people ask me if my head office is in Delhi, right? But the quality of life in 2014 in Hyderabad was amazing. So when I went out to do my MBA and then a job and decided to start up, I was very sure that I can't build out of Bombay, where I've lived in 10 years, because of the, I wanted a quality of life. But more importantly, when we actually looked at the industry that I am in, I run ambulances for a living. And what we needed is strong healthcare ecosystem. I believe Hyderabad, when it comes to hospitals, is the capital of healthcare. A lot of pharmaceutical companies are also here as well. But also what we forget is Hyderabad is the mapping capital of the world almost, right? When you speak to people in Apple and in Google, they run their mapping system here. So we realized that, hey, that's an advantage. We'll find a lot of talent that knows that side of the world. And also logistics. Hyderabad was easier to build, given that it doesn't have the constraints that Bombay has. To build an ambulance business is a hyper-local business, right? Bombay had unique constraints. Delhi was too large. Bangalore, the first question that everyone would have asked is, how would you manage the traffic? Hyderabad just was such an organic choice for us. And For me, who was looking to settle down, have my family grew up here, quality of life, clean air, fantastic infrastructure mattered. And then when I was looking at it from building a company standpoint, the residual, the ecosystem that we speak about was present here, but also it gave us proximity. I mean, come on, Hyderabad airport is 30 minutes away. I fly, we are in 40 cities, and all those 40 cities are accessible. There's not a single indirect flight that I have to take, a single connection I have to take to fly to all those cities. So I think Hyderabad has now, I recommend it to everyone who's looking to start up, barring maybe a few challenges like we speak of, how can we attract more investors to set up shop here? Glad to see a few people who are doing that. But otherwise, for me, if a young startup's looking to come in, Hyderabad's now such a fantastic ecosystem, and thanks a lot to you as well.
Doing our jobs. You didn't queue up on 2047, I'll come back to that. But you did a fantastic job of segueing to Gaurav when you spoke about Delhi. You also spoke about flying in. You also spoke about, we need more investors. So Gaurav runs Aroa Ventures. We are doing introductions as part of this. We also had the opportunity to work together back at OYO. But more interestingly, both Gaurav and Pranay started co-working companies. Sometimes we don't understand how important co-working is. We always look at co-working as one of the things that we do for startups. The reason is important is because 15 years ago, if you wanted to start a company in India as a founder, you will not get a bride or a groom. That's secondary. But more importantly, if you wanted an office in India for 2 people, it was impossible to do that. You just can't get office for 2 people. So one of the first interventions, which is why T-Hub also started with that, was that you should allow 2 people to register a small company and get started. So, Pranay started 91 Springboard, which is the pioneering co-working company in India. And Gaurav started Innovate, which happened to be one of the most premium and did very well. But a question for you, Gaurav, is most of your life, everything has been in Delhi. You've been in NCR mostly. I know you spent some time in the US. The question is, I know that you recently came to Hyderabad. 100 people applied to pitch to your 400 crore fund, and then something very interesting happened. So tell us about that. Also tell us about regionally, for Telangana, which direction are we heading from a startup investor lens, and what is getting you very excited about it?
Thank you for that. Am I audible?
You're audible.
Yeah.
Keep it close.
Sure. Thank you, Kavi. It's a pleasure actually to be here. As you rightfully pointed out, my introduction to Hyderabad is very new. The first time I ever landed in Hyderabad was 3 years ago. And that's where I got introduced to this whole idea of government funds of funds. Prior to that, I wasn't even aware that state governments or central government was investing in funds. So Hyderabad is very close to heart from that perspective. We have since then expanded the partnership at Aroa. A partner named Shekhar Puli, who joined the firm last year, is originally from Hyderabad, so that's another commitment from our end to the region. And coming back to what you mentioned about our experience here, 3 months ago is when I reached out to you saying that, hey, it would be interesting to do a demo day at T-Hub. Our focus is healthcare sustainability and deep tech. And surprisingly, within a span of, I think, 20 to 25 days, we received actually over 170 applications. And typically, all VCs or investment firms will go through a quick screening. We were able to short a little over 100 startups, out of which on demo day, startups were finalized for the one-on-one pitches. And from the 23, we were just fascinated to see the quality of the founders, the clarity with which the problem statements were defined, and the commitment to execute in a highly bootstrapped manner. A lot of people get caught up in this idea of raising funds and quickly raising funds and deploying, but that's one significant difference that I noticed, at least in the startups that we ended up finalizing. So out of the 8, I'm actually happy to actually share this here, is that as of last night, we've signed 3 term sheets with 8 of, and I think out of the 8, we may have at least 2 or 3 more that'll get finalized in the next week or 2.
These are phenomenal numbers. So 8 out of 170. Yeah. So about a 4% term sheet offer rate,
And
which is unheard of.
Yeah, but again, I would like to emphasize the quality of the founding teams. So we had, you know, even from an age distribution perspective, some firms, you know, founders in their early 20s, but also experienced professionals who have had decades of experience in the US, have set up shop here in India, and in a very diligent way building these businesses out. So I'm certainly a huge fan. We are committed to the region, and I think the sectors that we're focused on will end up playing a significant role in the vision 2047.
Fantastic. You also gave me a good segue into talking to Chiran and Ravi here. So that's right, that's very interesting. When I came in here too, I was surprised by the quality of founders. And I asked myself this question, which a lot of people ask now, which is saying, where are all these founders? We don't see them at all. And my answer is always, in Hyderabad, founders are busy putting their heads down and building, right? But sometimes they're on panels. They emerge to meet us on panels. So, you know, I'll segue that to both Chiran and Ravi. Chiran, you were busy at ISRO, doing some very cool stuff, which you should tell us about in 30 seconds. But you decided to quit all of that and come back to start a space debris removal company. And you chose not to do it in Bangalore. Again, this is not a race. But given the summit that we are at, we'd love to hear why you did that and moved back to Hyderabad to build a space debris removal company.
Yeah, am I audible? Yeah. Yes, you are. Okay. So first of all, thank you Telangana Rising Global Summit for giving me this opportunity, and I'm privileged to sit with my seniors, may not be in age, but but building the organization, so I'm privileged to sit with them. So every childhood story starts with once upon a time there used to be, and my story today also starts with once upon a time there used to be space in space. Now the space is not there, it's all cluttered with debris. And this space debris is actually creating greater threat to the operational satellites. So that's when I decided that I should do something about this. And the space debris, it's going to increase with exponential increase in satellite launches. So if we let that happen, the future generations, that means our children and grandchildren, will never be able to use space again. So that's the whole big problem. So at Cosmos of Space, we are building these solutions for space debris problem. And this is highly essential for the space economy to grow to $1.8 trillion by 2035. And what I mean by, do we know here that we are in top 5 nations in spacefaring nations, right? And in some cases, we are even top nation. But do you know what is the share of the global space economy of India? It's just 2%. So why? Because ISRO is the only organization having that burden on their shoulders, moving forward and building this stuff till now. And then government has opened up space to all in 2020, and players like us are coming in. And the target given to us is to take the 2% share to 8% by 2030. So Telangana has got a great potential to contribute to this particular goal. And why I moved from Bangalore to Hyderabad, again, as you said, I'm not comparing with Bangalore, but Bangalore I really like. I worked there at ISRO for 6 years. I decided that I will build Cosmosov at Bangalore because I know where I get what I want, especially in space domain. So that's very much clear for me, and I wanted to build out of Bangalore. Then one day happened to come to Skyroot, saw their amazing facility, and if someone can build in our own homeland such kind of facility, why can't I? And then I started exploring the places here. Then I realized that all the manufacturing facilities and the testing facilities are all available in Hyderabad, thanks to DRDO for establishing these facilities. Everything is available. And the two important things here, T-Hub and T-Works, which are not there elsewhere. T-Hub, the largest innovation center, which builds the beautiful ecosystem. And T-Works, you go with an idea and they give a prototype to you. So these kind of facilities are very much important at an early stage. So after seeing all these facilities, I decided to move to Hyderabad. And very recently, I got a call from Secretariat, from one of the government officials. They invited me to Secretariat. They read an article about me and they told, like, you're building something great, and how can we contribute and how can we help you building this stuff? I think this kind of things, I don't know whether it will happen elsewhere or not, but it is happening in Hyderabad, and very happy that I took the step of moving to Hyderabad. Thank you.
Amazing. Tell us in 10 seconds what you did at ISRO, because it's so cool. What you did at ISRO. Just tell us what you were doing before you.
So I was a deputy project director for the Gaganyaan program, which is set to send humans to space in our own rocket and bring them back safely. I represented India on a global platform for space debris mitigation, understood how big is the problem, what are the technologies available, and where are the gaps. That's when I started building Cosmos of Space. 30 seconds over.
Amazing. Truly rocket science. Over to Ravi, and then I'll come to the rest right after. Ravi, if you guys haven't taken a walk around the stalls area, please go back after this and do it. There's a lot of cool stuff going on. There are these robots walking all around, as you may have noticed. But I want you to go to the Perceptine stall in the IT department area. There are there's a robotic arm and there's a semi-humanoid robot that you should check out. Today these robots can assemble like humans, things on the assembly line. He will tell us about it. But in addition to that, Ravi, my question for you is, and let's talk about the future a little bit. You guys are building world-class robots out of Hyderabad, out of Telangana, and building it for the world. What do you don't have? What more do we need to do together as an ecosystem? And tell us about Perceptine.
I think, thanks Kavi for asking that. And yeah, we are building global cutting-edge technology, AI-powered robots from Hyderabad, from Telangana. The biggest, we need three things, in my opinion, to build deep tech, like cutting-edge tech, right? We need capital. We need capital that can help you focus, basically, can actually help you innovate, right? So most capital that's available in India, that's, mostly for businesses where the models and the technology has been proven. But what we need is risk capital, especially for deep tech, right? And that's something that's really, falling in place with the, government's RDI initiative and a lot of, initiatives here in Telangana. But I think that's a very, very good thing that's falling now in place. The fact that we are all talking about deep tech now, and it wasn't the case even 3 years ago, I think that's a very good change to begin with. So I think capital is the most important thing, and that's really falling in place. 2, we need talent. Right? We need good people who have been experts in their field for 10, 15, 20 years, right? And not just fresh college grads. Like fresh college grads are good, but their aptitude and their energy is different. But an experienced person who has 15, 20 years of dedicated experience in a field, those are the kind of people whom we need. And so there are 2 things at work. One, of course, Trump's work in the US, but there is a lot of attraction here, especially for Hyderabad, and where in our organization we've had at least 4 people, who actually returned from the US and wanted to build something, and then they saw us and they wanted to join like a cutting edge technology that we are building. So I think talent, both of these are working really well, especially in Telangana. I share a very similar story like Chiran, right? I mean, wanted to move back to Hyderabad and made a very conscious decision. Looking at the infrastructure here, looking at, the fact that governments here recognize startups. Right? And that's something, very like what happens in other tier 1 cities in our country. Like government here have something called T-Hub, have something called T-Works, and they actively recognize and encourage startups, something that's absolutely important, right? And 3, of course, is the infrastructure and the kind of institutions which I've already touched upon. I think all of these 3, some of them are just macro trends and they're really falling in place. And the third one, I think the Telangana government here is doing a very good job in terms of the T-Hub and T-Works and all the other infrastructure and institutions.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ravi. We'll now take a step back, talk about community ecosystem. We have Gautam here from AWS, who's basically figuring out how can the AWS platform and its architecture actually help startups build what they do. Gautam, I'll give you guys a fun fact. It is not easy to raise funding. As T-Hub also for us, and as a representation of what the government is doing, it is very hard to do that. But I'll tell you a fun fact that we were just reviewing. In the last 2 years, while we've dispensed about $1 million, 8.5 crores or so in funding via the separate funds that we manage, but we dispensed 36 crores in credits from AWS, from Google, from Microsoft. We are the largest incubator distributing credits, in the country. So, and that's only possible because corporates like yourself, large companies like yourself, care for startups. Tell us why do you care, and tell us what is your plan to 2047, so that we can keep relying on you guys to get to our march to that.
So, a couple of things, right? I think AWS and Amazon has presence in the state in Hyderabad for a very long period of time. But most of the developers in the room or the startup founders, you can actually remember the one thing that connects, if you go to the AWS console, is something called as AP South 2, which is nothing but actually the infrastructure that we have in Hyderabad, right? So, Hyde region came up in year 2022. That's one of our biggest infrastructure, investments in the country, and the whole idea is actually we are here for long, right? So again, multiple things have to sort of converge if you have to invest, if you have to make that kind of an investment. There has to be like power, cooling, support from the government, the local talent, world-class operations, so on and so forth, right? So all of these things sort of converged, and all of these things happened. So if I had to draw the analogy, so in generally most of the Western countries, so you build the infrastructure, right? So before the cities come up, you build the infrastructure or the highways, you develop those first. So I think if you have to draw the parallels, so we have now those compute infrastructure or the digital highways, so to speak. Now we have, ample opportunity and capacity for the local startups, the businesses, and digital and smart cities to come up and leverage those compute rails that we have. In terms of how we are actually using some of those things and enabling some of the startups, one of the things that we have actually started as a program, what we internally call as AWS Activate, and it's pretty much resonates with pretty much all the founders in the country. That's actually access to the initial compute, to try your product, to build your product, to test the waters, and get to a stage where you actually can do your product market fit, right? I think that's extremely important, because at that point of time you actually literally don't have any backup or any support from any venture-backed firm. So I think that's a very important stuff. The second thing is, from a journey standpoint, there are 3 phases to that, right? So one is the development phase, what we call as co-build, where experts from AWS also get involved in terms of giving them the right, I would say, guidance in development. But once you have the product, how you actually market those things, right? The whole idea of co-marketing. And once the co-marketing and you scale using the marketing mechanisms, how you can actually co-sell. So some of those things are all integrated as part of these programs that we have for startups. And T-Hub as a partner has been like, core to our mission in terms of, making or identifying the right startups early on and engaging them and providing them the right support. So like I said, we are here for long. So these investments would continue to happen in the coming years. And we are super excited to see what we can actually do in this state and with the talent that we have in Hyderabad.
Thank you, Gautam. I'll come to Pranay and then Aditya. Sorry, saving the best for the last. Pranay, you've obviously seen a lot in the last decade plus of building, a 91 Springboard. But so you started a co-working company which is doing really well now. Then you went into investing, angel syndicates, all of that. All of that is a phenomenal story. I want to hear where that's going for you in the future. What do you think are the areas, because when you do small checks, right, you see that better than what VCs in some ways do. What are the bright spots that you see where there's a lot of opportunity, like a request for startups that Y Combinator does? You're sitting here. What are the 4 or 5 areas where you would love to see early stage founders build? And of course, tie it back to, what we should do as a state.
Sure. But, hello. So Kavi, I'll also talk about one thing where I want to thank Hyderabad. 91 Springboard became a co-working company because of Hyderabad.
Really?
And we started out of Delhi. We were trying to do a small fund with a space and an ecosystem. The fund was taking time, right? But our first space filled up. We got another opportunity in Gurgaon. We filled that up. But when Hyderabad, we got an opportunity, right? There was, so Penar Industries, they had some floors empty and they said, why don't you run it here? We said, let's try to run one remotely, and if we can do one remotely, we can do 100 remote. And once that became successful is when we said we are in the co-working business. We'll keep the fund part a bit aside and we'll focus on co-working. So Hyderabad ecosystem has always had a very important role in the journey.
Fantastic.
I've played. Coming back to investments, I'm running a syndicate fund investing about 50 crore to 1.5 crore, advising another VC fund. And the kind of startups we are seeing here, especially focused on deep tech, AI as a space, medtech, biotech space. I think that's amazing. The one other space which is still a bit under the VC radar, which I'm loving, and I think that's where founders can focus about a lot more on, is the advanced engineering and manufacturing space. So there's a portfolio company of ours called Thermoflight. They started with creating what's called refractory materials, which is used in steel factories. The founders are students who started out of IT Hyderabad. And now they're creating advanced materials company as a subsidiary in tie-up with, so like when I say in tie-up, I mean customers like Midhanis, etc. And the moment I'm saying that name, you recognize that that's like the ecosystem of Hyderabad playing. So this advanced engineering and manufacturing, I think, is still under the radar space. And as Hyderabad, as entrepreneurs, as investors, we can build really good startups there.
Very interesting. Engineering and manufacturing. We actually have 4 startups we'll introduce to you tomorrow. But
Excited
that's amazing.
about it.
I'll come to Aditya. Aditya, wrap this up for us. You've been building what? Companies out of Telangana for the last 20 years?
Yeah, 15 years.
We'll round it up to 20. Many of your, I know some of your companies didn't do well. I know one did really well. And I know that now you're all about figuring out how we can give back, pay forward. How can we unlock the value of this ecosystem, both as an investor, as a founder? I want to hear a little bit about that. I want you to focus on the future. You have 22 years ahead after 15, rounded up to 20 years of building. What do you want to do as someone here who cares? And what would you like the state, other founders, incubators, everyone on this stage to do to contribute a massive number to 3 trillion?
So for me, I'm from Hyderabad, been here all my life, apart from a few years outside. So for me, when I was building out of Hyderabad, it felt so natural. Not that just because I'm from here, but just that the talent availability was there. And this I'm talking 2009, 2010. And that could not be more truer in 2025. Now, when I run an early stage fund now. We've done about 42 investments over the last year and a half. And 11 of them are from Hyderabad. And when I find companies that pitch to us, there's a certain authenticity when Hyderabad founders pitch to us. They're not trying to hype things up. They're giving you the reality. The amount that they're raising is what they need. The valuations are not in space, pun intended. They're still grounded in reality. So I see all of these things, this authenticity that we see out of Hyderabad. So my biggest question was then, we seem to have all of the ingredients. What is the missing recipe? And we spoke about this a bit, and I think one of the key things that we've identified is that we need to till now we've been playing defense, where we said, okay, when the best companies, how do we prop the best companies that are building out of Hyderabad? Instead, if you take a slightly more aggressive stance and say, how can we find the best companies, best founders that are building anywhere in India or even the US and get them to move to Hyderabad? Right? I think getting the best talent, this will happen organically where founders like Chiran, Ravi, they will choose to build out of Hyderabad. But how can we also make sure that for whom they're in Delhi or other places, how can you get them to actually move to Hyderabad because of all of the awesome things that the city has to offer? So I think getting talent to transport themselves here is, I think, going to be the biggest unlock for us. One thing I will comment on, and it has been done super successfully, is the government has put in a lot of effort and might behind bringing GCCs to Hyderabad over the last 20 years. Yeah. Right? And what we have seen is when we put our mind and effort to something, results will come. And if we need the best innovation to happen out of Hyderabad, we cannot look for companies that have already scaled and say, hey, why don't you uproot yourself from a Bangalore or a Chennai or a Mumbai and come here. No, you have to find the company, the founders that are sub 10 employees and tell them about all the awesome things that Hyderabad has to offer and say, hey, why don't you decide to build out of Hyderabad? And folks like what you guys are doing, where you are actually giving them a lot of visibility into what is possible in Hyderabad, is going to go a long way. So I think for me, the one big thing is get the top talent to make Hyderabad their home, which means everybody in this room, if you see somebody that's not from Hyderabad, please make them feel welcome. And there is a pun intended here because of what's happening in another city, without getting too political. But if we make Hyderabad feel welcoming, the best founders will come here, the best early stage employees will come here, and the best companies will be built out of here.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Aditya.
Yeah, Kavi, while your mic is not working, I'll jump in and utilize the opportunity. One thing you said is, what can we do, say, for seeing the transformation in the next 10 years? I feel we have enough, like, more is merrier, but the kind of stuff Hyderabad has done on creating the infrastructure, the government support system, etc. is amazing. I think there's a lot of, like when I'm meeting the startups here also, they're getting the angel funds. I think the 1 million sort of a funding gap is there. After we talk of Series B and C, the bigger funds will come in and invest across India, wherever. And I think a dedicated fund focused on Hyderabad, investing $1 million in, say, 15 to 20 startups, now just makes sense. And Hyderabad has a depth to absorb it.
Amazing. Thank you. They still don't want my mic to work. Okay. I think that was also a warning to say we're out of time. We'll do a quick, all of you are founders, startups, all of that. So I know you can all do elevator pitches. We'll do a quick 10-15 second wrap. Otherwise we'll keep talking before I get the other team in. A quick 10-15 second wrap on what is the one thing, right, that you believe. We've talked about talent, etc. Try to be as specific as we can. That you believe the ecosystem together, this includes primarily the government, it includes investors, that we should do for founders as our customers, right? And I know there are founders here, early stage ones. You also speak like the ecosystem, right? So we'll just go in a line. Maybe we'll start with Gautam. What should we together as an ecosystem do, the one thing that you think matters for founders over the next 22 years for unlocking the $3 trillion economy in this state?
I think the first and foremost problem would be to identify the right problem statement and pick the use case that can actually, worth actually putting your time and effort to solve that stuff, right? And it should have an impact which is, pretty much like touching every citizen in the state and the city, right? So I think that should be the goal, and that's something that you should aspire.
Awesome. Pass it to Ravi. So Gautam says we should encourage, activate ways to identify the right problem statement. So we are all building and pushing the resources towards what matters. Ravi.
I think we all, as government, founders, everyone in the economy should really 100% believe that in order to achieve a $3 trillion economy, it's not possible just doing the same things that we've done over the past decades. We've been very successful at services, we've been very successful at domestic consumption, but what's really going to take us to 3 trillion is IP-driven products.
Amazing. Thank you, Ravi. Chiran.
So as I said, I got a call from government. So what I'm saying is there are people who are ready to help and we need help, and good mapping between these two has to happen. That is, the players like the ecosystem players like T-Hub can do that. And one more thing which I can take as a takeaway from Bangalore is there are so many informal gatherings happen between the VCs, and here all the meetings are formal. So that kind of informalness should come for the startups to actually evolve.
Chiran and I were discussing that we should lose our jacket before coming on stage.
And guests, investors, and topmost actors, directors joining us today at the Telangana Rising Global Summit 2025. We are here at Bharat Future City, united by singular ambitious goal to transform Telangana into a global creative hub by 2047. This summit is not just a conference, it is Telangana's invitation to the world to join hands in building future-ready state where innovation, investment and inclusive growth thrive. Our Honorable Chief Minister Sri Revanth Reddy has set a clear direction with the Telangana Rising 2047 vision document aiming for 3 trillion economy. Film, culture, tourism and digital media are key pillars of this vision. We recognize the power of cinema goes far beyond entertainment and it is an engine of economic growth, a preserver of culture and a universal media for storytelling. Our government is more committed for growth of film industry with our culture and language since from so many decades. Earlier Hyderabad was known for Hindi film releases and the Revenue Minister of Andhra Pradesh K.V. Rangareddy asked the Telugu filmmaker to shift Hyderabad from Madras is a place where Sri Saradi Studios established in 1956 built by Yarlagata Shivaram Prasad and the first film shot in studio was Ma Inti Mahalakshmi in 1956. Sri N.T. Ramarao, Sri Akkineni Nageshwarrao, the legends of Indian Telugu cinema came forward to establish Ramakrishna Studio and Annapurna Studio in 1976 with the initiation of Congress government for Jalagam Venkalrao Garu and then Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh. Thereafter in 1984, Padmalaya Studio by Superstar Krishna, 1989, Ramanayadu Studio were established by late Sri Great Ramanayadu Garu. The Bollywood superstar and king of virtuality Ajay Devgan came forward to establish a world-class studio in Hyderabad near future and which shows the commitment of our government of actively promoting Hyderabad as a national filmmaking capital, supporting studio developments and aiming to attract more productions. Lastly, we will explore the critical The goal of this panel discussion is to listen to the needs of creators, explore local identity as an engine of growth, and then shape of collaborative roadmap between the government, studios, filmmakers. Our panelists today, including legendary Rakesh Om Prakash Mehra, insightful Joa Akhtar, and local giants like Allu Arvind, Suresh Babu Garu, Shyam Prasad Reddy Garu, represented the best film of Indian film industry, and we will explore critical areas that will define our future, including Telangana is opening its doors to your ideas, your technology, and your partnership revolutionary. We are ready to make investment necessary to foster world-class creative ecosystem. Let us define the actionable pathways for skills, inclusion, rural development and technology adoption that will make Cinema Rising 2047 a reality. Thank you, and I look forward to a dynamic discussion and especially welcoming my favorite heroine Janelia Deshmukh and Ritesh Deshmukh, who is a very familiar in Telugu films. When I am the first time elected, I am in Lok Sabha, I am in Assembly for 30 years continuously, but I never miss the Janelia picture. Is a national actor, national heroine. Thank you for coming to this Hyderabad. I am very happy. I am roads and building, national highways, civil aviation and cinematography minister. I never expected to receive Janelia. Thank you, my sister. Thank you, one and all. Thank you for coming to this global session. Thank you very much. Andarki namaskaram. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, sir. Can we request everybody to come forward to take a picture? And also, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Andre Timmins, the head of Wishcraft, to join us for this photo op. Thank you so much, sir. Good evening once again. I would request everybody to just settle down. अपने seats पे बैठ जाइए ताकि we can start with the evening and the conversation. A humble request for everybody to please settle down. For any filmmaker or actor, some places spark imagination the moment you arrive. And Telangana is one of them. It's a state where creativity is supported, ideas feel possible, and the industry feels truly heard. Today, Telangana isn't just welcoming cinema. It's shaping the future of India's global creative economy. Under the visionary leadership of Honorable Chief Minister, Shri A. Revanth Reddy Garu, the state is reimagining the entire filmmaking ecosystem and positioning Hyderabad as a genuine global filmmaking hub. What stands out is the clarity of vision. Telangana recognizes that the film industry grows when skills and technology grow. Hyderabad already offers us a world-class production environment, from Ramoji Film City to Prasad Labs, Annapurna, Ramanaidu, Sarathi Studios, and leading VFX and animation companies. And the ambition now is to expand this creative infrastructure across the state, empowering communities and enriching the stories we tell. Cinema is also about identity, and Telangana's cultural richness, its heritage, its music, crafts and cuisine give storytellers an exceptional canvas. Equally important is the state's focus on bringing more women into every department of filmmaking, ensuring a more inclusive future. And above all, filmmaking thrives on ease. Telangana's single window permissions, clear zoning and digital processes reflect a sincere commitment to making production smooth and filmmaker friendly. Today's conversation is about how Telangana can build the talent, technology and cultural ecosystem the industry needs, and how cinema, in return, can amplify the state's identity, economy, and global presence. So let's begin on that note. So, ladies and gentlemen, before I start, I have a personal anecdote I would like to share. I have grown up, I think, spending more time in Hyderabad than in Mumbai because my father always shot films here. I think I've stayed in Taj Banjara more often than I stayed at my own house. My father has remade a lot of films. My father has come here and shot, I think, predominantly before anybody else also did, from the Hindi film industry. And I feel really proud and happy to be here sitting with Suresh Babu Garu, who I have seen when I was a child. For me, Rana is my friend, and I feel very, very proud that I can be here today for bringing our industries together. Sir, I'll start with you, Suresh Babu Garu. You were telling us backstage, which is something that we all learnt and understood. Only 25 years, this industry, only 25 years, and today we are sitting here. What is your imagination of the past, present and future?
See, when the state of Andhra Pradesh was born, the industry was completely in Tamil Nadu, which is present Tamil Nadu, and we were all making films there. The government here was trying to get the industry from Tamil Nadu into Andhra Pradesh for a period of time, and very, very little impact was there. About 25-30 years ago, they just made one tax differential. one chief minister, and they came and said that if you make a film here, the taxes will be lower than what it is elsewhere. And immediately they came in. Another chief minister came and then he gave land, about 65 acres, for the workers to build a facility. On that day, unfortunately, there was a small problem. Both the Chennai workers and the Hyderabad workers fought. And the Chennai workers said they will never come to Hyderabad to shoot. Immediately, Hyderabad, within 2 months, this whole ecosystem got created. The Chennai workers came back and the industry stayed. And what happened at that time is all new infrastructure was built here. Annapurna Studios, Padmalya, Ramanaidu Studios, and Ramoji built a world-class facility, while facilities in the other parts of the country were all falling apart. They were all, nobody was enhancing or improving their facilities. Things started off here. With that, all the actors and Telugu people as a whole, we will go and make a remake from anywhere. We will buy a Tamil film, a Telugu, Hindi film, a Malayalam film and make it a remake. For us, there's no qualms that we have to be original and all that. We have to be successful. Now, having said that, with that kind of spirit, we have some seriously brilliant filmmakers who've come and made this so-called pan-Indian film, so-called pan, and they're now trying to look and try and make something pan-world. So the thought process is there always to get bigger and better. So how can we now, both as Hyderabad, because it's a very flexible and easy ecosystem, how can we as all filmmakers try and see that we have at least one place in India which becomes the global hub within our country? If all of us can talk on that, what can we do when South Korea can do it for Korea? Why can't we do it for India? Whether we do it in Hyderabad or wherever it is, how do we do it? That would be something that we should look at. Because that's the opportunity which is there. And I remember in that quest for excellence, we will get there sooner or later. Which is what I remember when A.R. Rahman was once recording. I said, why are you taking so long to record? You're recording. He said, no sir, we do things well, but we don't do things with excellence. And he was the first one who just pushed excellence in recording, and he was the first one to get an Oscar for our country. So it's that kind of spirit or that kind of movement if we start in, I think we should be able to deliver. And all of you are making such fabulous material. Like when I was seeing all the films, whether it's Rakesh, Zoya, Aritesh. So I think that's possible.
Yes. Speaking of excellence, I think Rakesh sir, I would like to get your opinion. We are sitting here today at the cusp of so many possibilities. But it all starts with what we were speaking backstage about. How do we inculcate this culture? How do we inculcate a creative environment? How do we actually bring about people to start believing that we can prosper by forgetting borders, forgetting language, and actually create? And how a state is thinking that way by saying we do not want to think about creating divide, but actually bringing people together. We are all sitting here today. What do you feel is the first starting point from a creative point of view before we go into the technicalities of what the government can enhance? I think there has to be a creative emotion and energy that comes in for us to actually start believing and working towards it for a plan.
Yeah, it's not a very simple question to answer. It's quite complex, and there's no one answer to it. So I would say what happens in the nation reflects the mood of the nation. What's happening in Telangana today is reflecting the mood of the state. When you say we want to go global, it's a global summit. It is not just back-ending and creating facilities, studios and technology. It will also mean a lot of front-ending because we need to then sell. We need point of purchases. How to create future storytellers. I was just speaking with Alu sir and I was trying to propose to him, let's start a school for writing. And I was telling him after I finish making what's in my hand right now, which are 3-4 films, I want to devote the rest of my life into hanging out with youngsters and the young talent and the next generation, and to understand from them and to cultivate the seed of writing. once we have very strong writing, see, we are all still enjoying the fruits of what Ved Vyasa wrote in Mahabharata or what Valmiki wrote in Ramayana. We are still, monetizing it in one way or the other. TV, cinema, this, that, movies, adaptation. We need to bring back that. So for me, the writer is the first hero of the film, the first star of the film. Then we start building on other things which are behind the camera and in front of the camera, other skills. But that needs to come, and for that we need a very proud nation. Nation that believes in itself, nation that believes in diversity, nation that believes in coming together. It is a diverse nation. We have a lot of potential, but as long as we come together as, one mutti, not spread out. So there's so much to do, and it's such a humbling experience to come here and share the platform with the stalwarts of Telugu industry who gave birth to, they're the mothers. They went through the labor pain and they delivered. And what a baby they've delivered. Guys, hats off to that. Absolutely. Yeah, I can't hear claps. and there's so much to learn from that. But there's also a lot to learn from the mistakes we have made. And so that we don't repeat them. Because we'd be foolish if we repeat the mistakes we've done earlier. Rest all is rhetoric, I think. We need to follow the visionaries and the leaders, that the footsteps they created, now we need to create our own paths. Not necessarily just follow them. That will be monkey business. So, we all keep talking about Korea. The Korean story is not a story which was just born in Korea. Korea exported its culture slowly and surely and gradually. And once the seed was spread all over the world, they started watering it, they started giving it the right sunlight, the right proteins, vitamins. And one day, boom, it exploded. It didn't happen in that just one moment. It took them number of years. So let's start doing that. It's a lot of hard work.
So speaking of stories and speaking of writing, I think we can all say Malayalam cinema right now is leading the way. We have Asif here. Asif, I want to ask you, Telangana is supporting filmmaking for years. Now the government wants to make sure that it's a one-stop shop for all the technicalities of making sure films are made well. But how do you imagine being able to come in and tell a story which is based in your homeland? Come here, tell the same story, and today we have the audiences willing in the entire country to enjoy it. What is your expectation or your excitement to see this kind of cross-cultural amalgamation and pollination of energies that is happening?
Hello, namaskaram. Arjun, for us, especially the Malayalam film industry, Hyderabad and Telugu industry is like our backup plan. Our everyday shooting essentials like, you say, the most advanced camera to the most newest lens to be the rig, everything more than Telugu industry. So we are literally counting on this industry. And yeah, I want to say you guys are already 20 years ahead and we are looking forward to a beautiful collaboration. And thank you so much for this invitation. I'm so honored. Cheers.
Alu Arvind, I would like to ask you one very simple question. Pan-India, this terminology that is used now so freely with everything that is happening, I think we have to give credit where credit is due, whether it is Bahubali, whether it is Pushpa, whether it is all these films that have come. I think where Rakesh speaks about writing, imagination, thought process, the Telugu cinema industry has led the way by experimenting, by taking chances, and today we see the government also being so supportive. How do you see us being able to learn from your writing, from your making, from how unified you are as an industry, because that is something that we all want to take back home and bring together and tell better stories. And the government supporting you allows you, I think, to enjoy the fact without being scared, without being worried about how to make films happen, the big budget films or the small budget films. I think what's very special is the government and the film industry are in sync. How has that happened, and how do you see that benefiting the kind of stories you wanted to tell, sir?
Can you really hear it? I mean, whatever he speaks in this feedback speakers, we could listen only 50% of it.
Speakers
are you really listening to what we say? Thank you. At least you are in a better place. Because his question, I am struggling to understand and reply. So, probably I'm taking his help also to understand that.
I can try again.
How? Your question is like, how such a big films are being made here and how the cooperation of the government and the industry is going together. That is the question you are asking. Thank you. The films which have gone global, we should understand one thing is, they all started from very local. Take recent films like Kantara and Pushpa. They are produced from a Chittur village story and a Karnataka small village story. They have taken it very local and made it sincerely, and it has become global. We should not try to make Transformers and Avengers. No. We should try what is a great story in Adilabad, what is a great story in this Matti, and try to make it big and project it to the rest of the world. That will click. The very principle of getting focused and doing it the best will take you the long way. That is what is proved in the recent times while taking the films global. And the next question is, what he asked is, how the government is so cooperative here, and right from the beginning, right from Channa Reddy to the present Chief Minister, everyone is very friendly. We are very fortunate to be here. Very friendly with the film industry. Our film industry, as Suresh told, that we were there in Chennai and we are only 25, 30 years old here. I tell you, when we were trying to make films here 20 years back, we were struggling. We were struggling. Why we have come here was the starting regrets. But from there, here today we are seeing, rest of the world is coming to make films here. That is the kind of cooperation that has been brought by the government. And without cooperation of the government, this could not have happened. And we are very happy. Every government should take the film industries or the cultural the forms to this level, which all of us should learn from Korea. 30 years back, they have put a seed for the culture to be told to the rest of the world. And after 30 years, we have seen our children are singing Korean songs. When we go home, it's only Korean films are playing. We don't have the space. We have to go to our bedroom and on and see our films in Netflix. Korea is such a dominating. They have started it 30 years back, and now it's giving fruits. Likewise, we have to take our culture also. Start taking it in a big way, and it will reap fruits after decades. And we should start it. Thank you.
Shyam sir, continuing from where Allu Arvind Garu was saying, you were talking about taking cinema global, but we have to be local to go global is what everybody says. Would you like to add to what sir was saying?
Yep.
I believe that cinema is very, very, very powerful. It's not just, I don't think it's just entertainment. It's something more than that. Something way more than that. It is very powerful, and I believe it is bigger than political power. It is bigger than economic power. It is so big that it has the power to influence society. It is the greatest, most powerful influencer. That's how I look at it. And I think that we need to not just only attract cinema to Hyderabad, especially after what we have done to our regional cinema like Triple R, Bahubali, Pushpa, Kantara, all these films. We should also take our films globally, take it across. In that context, I would like to talk about, I would like to give an example for better understanding. There is, before 1985, there is a Japanese dish, Japanese cuisine called ramen. It's an original, authentic noodles, which is very popular in Japan. The rest of the world never knew about it. They never knew about it. It was not popular. It was not there on any menu. It was not offered in any of the Japanese restaurants. But it was popular only in Japan. And in 1985, they made a film. A film came out by the name Tampopo. It's a comedy Japanese film. And the story is centered around the Japanese relationship with their food. To make it a bit more detailed, the story is about a hero and his relationship with this ramen dish. He made a film and the film was successful and it went on to release in United States. And when it released, it got rave reviews. It got rave reviews, it was appreciated, it became a cult film. It was exposed to the international audience. They started talking about it, they started getting curious about it, they wanted to taste that noodles. And then slowly it spread, it became popular the world over, and last year, just that one noodle which was introduced to the world through a cinema had a gross sales of $58 billion, which is bigger than the budget of our state. Just that one dish. That's what is the power of cinema. 7 billion out of that was from Japan and the remaining 51 billion was from the rest of the world. So I very strongly believe that cinema can go across borders faster and easier than any other product. Any other product. I would say that cinema is a cultural ambassador. It can take our culture, our fashion, our lifestyle, our drama, our stories, our humor, our aesthetics, everything to the world. So I believe that is the power of cinema. I believe that we should also start focusing on that. How do we take our cinema to the rest of the world? It can contribute in a very big way to our economy. 100%, definite. Because any cinema goes straight to the heart. It doesn't go with a propaganda. It goes with a story. It goes with an emotion. And that emotion is an experience. And that experience is a pleasure. Anything to do with that pleasure, associated with that pleasure, the viewer takes it home. He remembers it. So therefore, I believe that cinema is very powerful. And now that we have started going onto the platform, we have directors like Rajamouli, we have directors like Sukumar, we have directors like Rishabh Shetty. So we should work towards that, take our cinema internationally, but we are not great at packaging, presenting, marketing. Therefore, I think the state government should step in, start establishing those cultural centers and help us marketing our projects. So I think that is the way to go about it. Not just attract, also take our cinema international. That's it. That's my view. Thank you.
I think speaking of cinema and language not being a barrier, I'm sitting here with Ritesh, who has now become a director himself and directed in Marathi. Where regional cinema is concerned, when we speak about I think the biggest success we've seen in the recent past is Kantara, a man who's, as Suresh sir was telling us backstage, he lives very short the film. He's gone back and taken people back there to shoot a film, tell the story about a rooted part of his culture, and the country and the world has embraced it. So Ritesh, I wanted to ask you, what kind of skills and technology do you need eventually to be able to actually take a story that is based in Maharashtra, to shoot it here, to make sure that the audience, even in Telangana, enjoys it, the audience in Punjab enjoys it? How do we break this language barrier? How do we break this cultural barrier that I think perhaps a Kantara has done so well in the recent past? Because Bahubali is still a mythological story in that sense. Pushpa is still the angry young man coming to the fore with the core emotion. But the cultural stories that we want to listen to, we want to understand, and we want to really respect, how can we take that to the entire nation?
First of all, thank you so much for having me over here. I want to thank Honorable CM Sir, Deputy CM Sir, for organizing this wonderful global summit, and to have great minds here, and to feel that I was capable to sit here. First of all, thank you so much. My journey started from Hyderabad. I'm happy to say that I'm a product of Hyderabad. My first film, Tujhe Meri Kasam, where Janila and me, both of us debuted, was produced by Shri Ramoji Rao. And everything I learned, my first experience about filmmaking, was from here in Hyderabad. I learned about work ethics. I learned about how films are made. I learned about how people are treated. I didn't know anything about filmmaking. But my foundation itself was so good in terms of dealing with people who are so professional, so respectful, and so inclusive. That is one thing that Hyderabad really inculcated in me as a person, and I'm extremely proud to carry it with me for the last 22 years as an actor, a producer, and now as a director. Talking about, I have, Janil and me, primarily we have produced Marathi films. That's where the language that I'm born in. It's an industry, when you talk about Indian film industry, it started with a Marathi man, Dadasaheb Phalke. And one man's vision in Mumbai, and when we spoke last time that, you know, industry, a lot of people from all over the country came, and it became like a pot boiler for filmmaking. It became a hub. It became something much more important, much more like an ambassador to cultures. And it has, like Shyam Babu said, it is practically the biggest influencer that we have world over. And when we talk about cinema, primarily I'll come to what you said about Marathi films being made. Yes, regional films, some industries have struggled and gained success and became big global phenomenon, like Telugu, like Tamil. Hindi was already a hugely successful industry, and they are the main drivers. But when we look at Marathi industry, primarily because it comes from state of Maharashtra, where we already have an existing Hindi film industry. So when it comes to choices, in Maharashtra, people's first choice is always a Hindi film. The second choice is a Marathi film. So when a Marathi film becomes the second choice, it is extremely important that you have less chances to attract that audience. Then you have to be very sure what kind of films you're making, how can it be culturally rooted. Like Arvind sir said that, you know, it's important to go local. And of course, if you are connected with local, emotions will connect, and eventually global will happen. But if you're not local, if you don't connect with the people's heart, nothing's going to translate on big screen or influence people's minds. Yes, I agree that as an industry, when we look at what's happening in this summit here, or the proposition of cross-cultural boundaries being erased, that is very important. Why is this more or very exciting? Is because It will be a hub not only for Telugu industry. We are talking about a hub for all India or people from all over the world to come here and interact with each other and see what we can give each other, what we can learn from each other. It's very important that we have a place, and unfortunately, even in Maharashtra, or Mumbai, we have very fragmented places where we shoot. We don't have an interactive or integrated city as such that can really inculcate talent, nurture a future generation, and help each other excel. Sir said that like A.R. Rahman sir said, it's not about giving something that's good. How do we excel? And if each of us tries to excel in what we do, we will create a global product. And that is what we need to really teach people. And I truly believe that skill sets are the most important part of this industry. And primarily, when we talk about, slightly off, but in our industry, a lot of people think working on the job is learning, and it is. I'm not saying that. It is. Be it production, like production is such an important aspect of it. But we need institutes to teach people how to produce movies, how to manage people. We think, okay, one person joins the film, he learns the ropes, and we have the grades. Of course, I'm not denying that. But if we teach all these things professionally in an institute, then we'll have far more superior talent coming in and making things better, making things more easier, streamlining things for us to excel in. And that does not mean production. I'm talking about even direction, every aspect of it. That is something that we really need to, as skill sets, really develop. And when we talk about Marathi films, I've of course worked in Hindi films and producing and directing Marathi films. I think erasing the regional boundaries is very important, but at the same time upholding your cultural values, where we each have our own inherent cultural values that we can come together, that we can impart with each other, collaborate with each other, and it's give and take. That's what I think, and this is the place that promises to be that, and we are very excited to see what future for cinema holds, starting from Telangana.
So moving to Zoya and Genelia both, I think Zoya first I'll come to you. I think in the beginning of the summit when I was talking, we spoke about, I hate using the term women empowerment. I think it's just about acknowledging the fact that over the last couple of decades we've had women in front of the camera and now women behind the camera. I think our industry in that sense has started a lot of that conversation for many, many years, and now when we speak about the summit today, they also want to make sure that the ecosystem and environment fosters more behind the scenes women feeling excited, intrigued, curious to learn, to adapt, and to be part of cinema. As somebody who's been a torchbearer of being a filmmaker behind the scenes, and as an actor who's worked in both Hindi and Telugu and regional cinema, what can actually be done to make sure that more women, more girls, more young girls are excited and intrigued to come and be part, not only in front of the camera, because that will always exist, because there is a certain amount of beauty that comes with it and a certain excitement, but even just to be able to be a storyteller, because abroad we see so many fantastic people who are producing, directing, writing, show running. So I think it's the tip of the iceberg. I think we have to empower women and girls to start believing that they must and they can.
Firstly, thank you for having me here. I'm really excited to be here. I absolutely love this question. And here is somewhere where I think the Mumbai film industry has done very well, which is created a safe environment where women can work behind the camera. There are sets that are sometimes more than 50% women. We have women in every field, not just directors and writers, but we also have women in lighting now, women that are grips, women that are shooting films. They are everywhere. I think it starts from the top, and the top is here, so it's a good place to start. I think in Bombay what happened was the biggest production houses and the biggest stars started working with women directors. Whether it was the Khans, whether it was Hrithik, they all started working and signing films with women directors, and that really broke a glass ceiling. The big production houses, YRF, Dharma, Excel, all of them started using women directors, and it sends out a message, you know. I think that's very important. I think half the audience is female, half our life is female, so their worldview is very important. Their vision is very important. They see the world differently. And you can only make better films and a better industry by involving them in the process. Having said that, respect. I think for women to come in and work behind the camera, they need to feel valued. You can't dismiss them. You can't be like, you don't know anything, you're a girl. No, she knows a lot. You know what I mean? She gave birth to you. So have some respect. And basically respect and safety and opportunity. That's all.
Genelia, I think the audience is dying to hear from you.
Firstly, I would like to honestly thank Honorable CM and Honorable Deputy CM for having me here. I mean, Hyderabad is home and it'll always mean the world to me. Telangana is some place where I started my first film, and then also the first time I produced was also back here in Telangana. So I think what the place does is makes you feel very secure and very wanted. Like Zoya saying, very often as women, if you don't come forward, it's because you don't feel that you're holding a position of power. But this city encourages you. It opens its heart and opens it's very, very welcoming. For someone like me who came from Bombay, I did some of my best work here. Not that I didn't do in other industries as well. I'm very grateful to have been part of a lot of industries. But I got a chance, like I wanted to do something more and I got that chance here. I'm honestly very grateful that I was a recipient of 2 Nandi Awards here, which is an honor for me when a state, you know, gives it to you. It means more than a lot more awards because it comes straight from the people and straight from the government, and I think that is very, very welcoming to someone like me. Speaking as a producer, strangely, when I started off, I used to be the only girl on set very often, you know, I was the only girl. But the strangest thing was my first film was produced by a woman herself at that point in time. Satyam here was produced by Supriya, and I don't know whether you're here, Nagarjuna's niece. And she was brilliant at her job, and I would look at her and wonder, like I would always feel alone sometimes because I was, you know, the only girl on set, and whether it was your crew or whether it was always men. But there was this one woman who was taking it all on, and I wondered, someday maybe, you know, maybe I'll want to do this. Many years later, of course, we're here and the industry has opened out to a lot more women, and a lot more women are coming out and telling stories and being part of cinematography and being part of a lot more things. But the encouragement needs to start with each one of us, I think, and with a basic thought that I can be worth it. Like I think as women, we underplay ourselves as well. We need to come out and say that we can do it. And someone like Zoya is brilliant. She's changed it for most women directors, I feel, here. And I think that's what's important. While you have an example, you also have a belief, and that's how we grow this industry. And I think the men in our industry are very lovely. They're always there to support. It's sometimes a little bit of saying that I want to do it, and another person saying, yeah, please come. That's about it.
You know, and since we are talking about taking Indian cinema to the globe, if you look back, I mean, of course, there was Mr. Rajamouli and the fantastic vision of RRR, but there was also All We Imagine Is Light. And that was like a beautiful, quiet, soft film, Payal Kapadia, that has taken the world by storm. And it's about 2 Malayali nurses, made in Malayalam, by a Bombay girl, set in Maharashtra, you know, and it broke all barriers, and it was distributed in India by Rana, Sir's son. So that's another way to look at it. It's not just always the big vision, it's the quiet stories. You know, whether it was Meera Nair, whether it's Girls Will Be Girls, whether it's Santosh, these are all female filmmakers. And there is interest in what they have to say, you know.
Exactly. I think that's a great example that you've given that already shows that we can actually go across the so-called creative borders don't exist actually. Sir, talk about creative borders. Bengali cinema has been so imperative and so important to shaping our culture. what is your take home today when you're sitting here and hearing everybody speak? What do you feel? I think Bengal has been the starting point of lot of art, lot of cultural curiosity. How do you see the government being able to enhance the prospects of you coming here perhaps and shooting regional films, Bengali films, or even using stories from here to take there and make?
See, emotion is universal. The way I cry, a person in Sweden, he also cries like that. Or somebody in Bankura, a village in West Bengal, he also cries like that. We have to identify stories. That's the most important thing. Now the synergy between a government, a filmmaker, a studio, and technology. Where there is friendship between all these guys, it can be fulfilled, whatever you are dreaming. Unfortunately, I come from a place where money was a problem, you know, when we used to, I had to do more than 500 advertising films sitting in Calcutta for Bangladesh and Eastern region and make some money, bought my camera and made my first film, Onur Onun, which I shot in England. And the way we grew up, you know, it was a very cosmopolitan environment. There was a person from Chennai, then Madras. There was a person from Maharashtra. There's a person from England. There's a person from Jalpaiguri. So we used to get stories from the atmosphere, which was flying here and there. Now, the problem, when you make a film, you dream, but it dies before it starts taking shape. Where is the money? So when there is a corporation or when there is a state who can give us incentives, give us technology, because now a lot of things you can do. You can create a set and you can do a lot of things digitally. You identify a story or make a cross-culture film. Like you make a film like Frantic, a man and a woman who has come from Burdwan for honeymoon in Charminar, and the woman gets lost. And then what? So we can dream about that when there is a support by the state. We come here, we shoot a very rooted story, a story which has double root, which is story has a root from Kolkata or from Bengal. I live in Bombay also. I've started making small Hindi films. A Mauritian man.
Influence society. It is the greatest, most powerful influencer. That's how I look at it. And I think that we need to not just only attract cinema to Hyderabad, especially after what we have done to our regional cinema like Triple R, Bahubali, Pushpa, Kantara, all these films. We should also take our films globally, take it across. In that context, I would like to talk about, I would like to give an example for better understanding. There is, before 1985, there is a Japanese dish, Japanese cuisine called ramen. It's an original, authentic noodles, which is very popular in Japan. The renowned filmmaker of our country told, Anirudh, everything has a market. You make a film of X budget, there is somebody. Y budget, there is somebody. But you have to know the market. But that's not my job because I'm not good at that. Everybody is not good at everything. You know, I can't play cricket well, but I play table tennis well. You know, so if this kind of collaboration happens with the stalwarts like everybody, all of you here, then sky is the limit. You know, lot of things can happen. Lot of things can happen. I will give example of Zoya's film. You know, I'll tell you why. Zindagi Na Mile Dobara. A week back, I was depressed. So my wife told me, she produces most of my film. Let's watch that film. So you went to Spain. We knew about Spain tourism, but you talked about Indian values, of urban Indian values, their crisis, their, you know,
their introspection in their life. So we can always do that. That's very important to go to places, make a film, rediscover, unlearn, learn, and let's do experiment. And that there is a state or there is a body, there is a community who will take care of you, which is very important for artists. Filmmakers are also artists. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I have just one simple question to the three producers who are here, taking a cue from you. We are here at a global summit, and we talk about films, and been producing and learning, the costs are just escalating. Everything
contribute in a very big way to our economy. 100%, definite. Because any cinema goes straight to the heart. It doesn't go with a propaganda. It goes with a story. It goes with an emotion. And that emotion is an experience. And that experience is a pleasure. Anything to do with that pleasure, associated with that pleasure, the viewer takes it home. He remembers it. So therefore, I believe that cinema is very powerful, and now that we have started going onto the platform, we have directors like Rajamouli, we have directors like Sukumar, we have directors like Rishabh Shetty. So we should work towards that, take our cinema internationally, but we are not great at packaging, presenting, marketing. Therefore, I think the state government should step in, start establishing those cultural centers and help us marketing our projects. So I think that is the way to go about it. Not just attract, also take our cinema international. That's it. That's my view. Thank you.
I think speaking of cinema and language not being a barrier, I'm sitting here with Ritesh, who has now become a director himself and directed in Marathi. Where regional cinema is concerned, when we speak about I think the biggest success we've seen in the recent past is Kantara, a man who's, as Suresh sir was telling us backstage, he lives very short the film. He's gone back and taken people back there to shoot a film, tell the story about a rooted part of his culture, and the country and the world has embraced it. So Ritesh, I wanted to ask you, what kind of skills and technology do you need eventually to be able to actually take a story that is based in Maharashtra, to shoot it here, to make sure that the audience, even in Telangana, enjoys it, the audience in Punjab enjoys it? How do we break this language barrier? How do we break this cultural barrier that I think perhaps a Kantara has done so well in the recent past? Because Bahubali is still a mythological story in that sense. Pushpa is still the angry young man coming to the fore with the core emotion. But the cultural stories that we want to listen to, we want to understand, and we want to really respect, how can we take that to the entire nation?
First of all, thank you so much for having me over here. I want to thank Honorable CM Sir, Deputy CM Sir, for organizing this wonderful global summit, and to have great minds here, and to feel that I was capable to sit here. First of all, thank you so much. My journey started from Hyderabad. I'm happy to say that I'm a product of Hyderabad. My first film, Tujhe Meri Kasam, where Jinile and me, both of us debuted, was produced by Shri Ramoji Rao. And everything I learned, my first experience about filmmaking, was from here in Hyderabad. I learned about work ethics. I learned about how films are made. I learned about how people are treated. I didn't know anything about filmmaking. But my foundation itself was so good in terms of dealing with people who are so professional, so respectful, and so inclusive. That is one thing that Hyderabad really inculcated in me as a person, and I'm extremely proud to carry it with me for the last 22 years as an actor, a producer, and now as a director. Talking about, I have, Jinil and me, primarily we have produced Marathi films. That's where the language that I'm born in. It's an industry, when you talk about Indian film industry, it started with the Marathi man, Dadasaheb Phalke. And one man's vision in Mumbai, and when we spoke last time that, industry, a lot of people from all over the country came and it became like a boiler for filmmaking. It became a hub. It became something much more important, much more like an ambassador to cultures. And it has, like Shyam Babu said, it is practically the biggest influencer that we have world over. And when we talk about cinema, primarily I'll come to what you said about Marathi films being made. Yes, regional films, some industries have struggled and gained success and became big global phenomenon like Telugu, like Tamil. Hindi was already a hugely successful industry, and they are the main drivers. But when we look at Marathi industry, primarily because it comes from state of Maharashtra, where we already have an existing Hindi film industry. So when it comes to choices, in Maharashtra, people's first choice is always a Hindi film. The second choice is a Marathi film. So when a Marathi film becomes the second choice, it is extremely important that you have less chances to attract that audience. Then you have to be very sure what kind of films you're making, how can it be culturally rooted. Like Arvind sir said that, it's important to go local. And of course, if you are connected with local, emotions will connect and eventually global will happen. But if you're not local, if you don't connect with the people's heart, nothing's going to translate on big screen or influence people's minds. Yes, I agree that as an industry, when we look at what's happening in the summit here, or the proposition of cross-cultural boundaries being erased, that is very important. Why is this more or very exciting? Is because it will be a hub not only for Telugu industry. We are talking about a hub for all India or people from all over the world to come here and interact with each other and see what we can give each other, what we can learn from each other. It's very important that we have a place, and unfortunately, even in Maharashtra, or Mumbai, we have very fragmented places where we shoot. We don't have an interactive or integrated city as such that can really inculcate talent, nurture a future generation, and help each other excel. Sir said that like A.R. Rahman sir said, it's not about giving something that's good. How do we excel? And if each of us tries to excel in what we do, we will create a global product. And that is what we need to really teach people. And I truly believe that skill sets are the most important part of this industry. And primarily, when we talk about, slightly off, but in our industry, a lot of people think working on the job is learning, and it is. I'm not saying that. It is. Be it production, like production is such an important aspect of it. But we need institutes to teach people how to produce movies, how to manage people. We think, okay, one person joins the film, he learns the ropes, and we have the grades. Of course, I'm not denying that. But if we teach all these things professionally in an institute, then we'll have far more superior talent coming in and making things better, making things more easier, streamlining things for us to excel in. And that does not mean production. I'm talking about even direction, every aspect of it. That is something that we really need to, as skill sets, really develop. And when we talk about Marathi films, I've of course worked in Hindi films and producing and directing Marathi films. I think erasing the regional boundaries is very important, but at the same time upholding your cultural values, where we each have our own inherent cultural values that we can come together, that we can impart with each other, collaborate with each other, and it's give and take. That's what I think, and this is the place that promises to be that, and we are very excited to see what future for cinema holds, starting from Telangana.
Moving to Zoya and Genelia both, I think Zoya first I'll come to you. I think in the beginning of the summit when I was talking, we spoke about, I hate using the term women empowerment. I think it's just about acknowledging the fact that over the last couple of decades we've had women in front of the camera and now women behind the camera. I think our industry in that sense has started a lot of that conversation for many, many years, and now when we speak about the summit today, they also want to make sure that the ecosystem and environment fosters more behind the scenes women feeling excited, intrigued, curious to learn, to adapt and to be part of cinema. As somebody who's been a torchbearer of being a filmmaker behind the scenes and as an actor who's worked in both Hindi and Telugu and regional cinema, what can actually be done to make sure that more women, more girls, more young girls are excited and intrigued to come and be part not only in front of the camera, because that will always exist, because there is a certain amount of beauty that comes with it and a certain excitement, but even just to be able to be a storyteller, because abroad we see so many fantastic people who are producing, directing, writing, I mean show running. So I think it's the tip of the iceberg. I think we have to empower women and girls to start believing that they must and they can.
Firstly, thank you for having me here. I'm really excited to be here. I absolutely love this question. And here is somewhere where I think the Mumbai film industry has done very well, which is created a safe environment where women can work behind the camera. There are sets that are sometimes more than 50% women. We have women in every field, not just directors and writers, but we also have women in lighting now, women that are grips, women that are shooting films. They are everywhere. I think it starts from the top, and the top is here, so it's a good place to start. I think in Bombay what happened was the biggest production houses and the biggest stars started working with women directors. Whether it was the Khans, whether it was Hrithik, they all started working and signing films with women directors. And that really broke a glass ceiling. The big production houses, YRF, Dharma, Excel, all of them started using women directors, and it sends out a message, you know. I think that's very important. I think half the audience is female, half our life is female, so their worldview is very important. Their vision is very important. They see the world differently. And you can only make better films and a better industry by involving them in the process. Having said that, respect. I think for women to come in and work behind the camera, they need to feel valued. You can't dismiss them. You can't be like, you don't know anything, you're a girl. No, she knows a lot. You know what I mean? She gave birth to you. So have some respect. And basically respect and safety and opportunity.
And also, as Allu Arvind Garu has said, how sincerity in our work can pave the future. I always thank all of you for being here. And last but not the least, to our moderator, Shri Arjun Kapoorji, for steering this conversation with such charm and clarity. Last but not the least, we also thank our Chairman, Film Development Corporation, Shri Dilraju Garu, for being a steady anchor and support for the government and the industry, for which the bonhomie, as been discussed in the panel, is very much important. As we wrap up today, I hope Telangana stays with you all, just not in your schedules, but also in your scripts. Thank you all. We look forward to building this creative future together. And one last note, all of you, is that I request all of you to please move to the main hall as the closing ceremony is going to be begun. I request our Honorable Minister, Shri Komatreddy Venkatreddy Garu, to be on the stage.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Priyanka, ma'am. And with this, we bring this powerful conversation on Cinema Rising 2047 to a close. The closing ceremony is not yet done. It's going to happen at the lawns, and that's the unveiling of Vision 2047 happening at the lawns, followed by the drone show. Please do attend. Well, my heartfelt gratitude.
Let it be recorded in their closing ceremonies in the lawns and tell the vision document.
Let me repeat myself, ladies and gentlemen. Unveiling of Vision Document 2047 is happening at the lawns, which is going to be followed by the drone show. We request our delegates to please join us. My heartfelt gratitude to all our panelists present here on stage. Today we didn't just discuss cinema, but we also explored visions and possibilities and the incredible future that Indian cinema is marching towards. That was indeed a very insightful conversation. Time takku undi kabatti we couldn't go to the Q&A sessions. Thank you Arjun Kapoor ji for moderating this show for us in Telangana. Mari manam andaram kuda okasari Telangana style lo okasari gattiga oka veskundama. Let's give them a big round of applause, guys. They are here for us. Thank you Mr. Arjun Kapoor garu. Thank you Aniruddha Roy Chaudhary garu. Thank you Shyam Prasad Reddy sir. Thank you Suresh Babu garu. Thank you Alu Arvind garu. This is to bring it to your notice, ladies and gentlemen, that the closing ceremony is happening at the lawn, and where we are going to unveil the document 2047 at the Telangana Rising Global Summit 2025. I request all of you to please join us at the closing ceremony for the unveiling of the document, followed by the drone show. We'd also like to thank Shyam Prasad Reddy garu, Alu Arvind garu, Suresh Babu garu, Rakesh Om Prakash Mehra ji, Zoya Akhtar ji, Jenilia and Ritesh Deshmukh garu. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being a part of this panel. ఇంకా జెనిలియా గారిని చూస్తుంటే ఇంకా మా హాసిని ఇక్కడే ఉన్నట్టుంది. మరి ఈసారి హాసిని మన తెలంగాణలో వాళ్ళ ఆయనతో వచ్చింది కాబట్టి మా అల్లుడు గారితో వచ్చింది కదా. Now I request our panelists to please step forward for a group picture, please. I request our dignitaries on stage